Hi YouTube, welcome back to another in-depth look at the live-action role-playing game formerly known as Flat Earth Debate that has now become known as Flat Earth QED. Yep, I'm afraid I have to tell you that Sleeping Warrior, the Lionel Hutz of Flat Earth...
Hutz is the name, Mr. Simpson. Lionel Hutz, attorney at law. Here's my card. It turns into a sponge when you put it in water.
Ooh, classy.
...has proved the Earth to be flat. However, as we will see, to believe this to be true, you are going to have to turn your willful ignorance up to number 11, leave your logic and reasoning at the door of Ranty's magic wardrobe, and step carefully past the resident lumberjack into a dreamy fantasy world where simple mathematics is viewed as witchcraft, solid and irrefutable proofs are the result of guesswork, and lighthouses and giant chimneys can materialize from thin air. Sleeping Warrior, of course, has continued to weave his web of lies, assisted by his three flying monkeys, Ranty, Nathan and Chris. So let's take a look at their input. First, Ranty. Ranty is now being presented as the Flat Earth photo analysis expert, which is odd as he gets almost everything wrong. Take a look at his first analysis.
Can you see where it sharply increases in elevation here? It rises up very sharply on this ridge, and we have a little town just at the bottom on the waterline here, and we have another town here. Do you see them, Anthony?
Yep.
As you can see, town here, the terrain comes down, it goes sharply up, and then it starts to taper off down again.
Yep.
Okay, so there's the landmass rising up, starts to taper off and starts to taper down.
I don't think anybody's going to disagree with this particular point because it's matching perfectly.
And here we have line of sight for this clump of little houses here, and this other clump of little houses here.
So Ranty has identified this distinctive object as this village called Balajora. Forgive me if I pronounce that incorrectly. When in actual fact, it's this lighthouse called Mackold Head.
Lastly, these lights here, this is part of Douglas. This area here is where Douglas is. And all this landmass to the left, all this landmass here is Ireland.
And now he identifies this little area called Ballacannel as the capital town of Douglas, which is a few miles along the coast. What Ranty claims to be Ireland is some of the higher points of the Isle of Man further inland to the southwest. Even though Ranty has made a series of incorrect identifications, he seems happy to make this proclamation.
Well, we know all this. We know that this here, this landmass here, this light, all this thing that's lit up is Douglas. We know that's Douglas because we've triangulated all the towns. This town here it follows along the ridge and the ridge behind it. I've identified this village over here. This one, I've identified this village. All with the terrain, it all matches up perfectly.
This is untrue. Nothing has been triangulated, and given the limited time he has told us he has spent on this, his confidence in his findings is unfounded and dishonest. In the following hangout, all of these island claims were shown to be impossible by Paul Voigt, who used bearing measurements to confirm what land was being seen. Ultimately, this has now been repeated independently by Rumpus, Geostreber, Slice Barcane, and more recently by flat earther David C. James, all of whom show without any doubt that the only land visible in Riley's image is the Isle of Man. Undeterred by this, Ranty responds to Paul's presentation with one of his own.
Everything you're seeing there is the Isle of Man.
Let Ranty respond. He sent me a file this morning with a better detailed analysis than what you presented. Although, thanks for presenting something, but based on what you've just presented, Ranty has got the ideal, like he's got a precise and accurate interpretation. Ranty, do you want to present?
Can everyone see?
Yeah, we can. And straight off the bat, I'm pretty impressed. I was impressed with Paul's, but this is better.
So before even seeing Ranty's presentation, Nathan, bowled over by the addition of a few vertical lines to the image, goes a bit giggly and decides it's better than Paul's, while Riley tells us it's precise and accurate.
I've individually spotted individual homes along this ridge here. And I've included them on the Google Earth where I was able to capture them. And as you can see, the terrain matches up here. The houses match up along this ridge. Okay, this individual building here is here. It's slightly off on Google Earth, but as you can see, it is that building. It's here, and this building here is this building here.
Right away, we see this analysis is far from precise and accurate. The buildings do not match. Ranty hasn't checked a single bearing, and the blurry buildings on Anthony's image can barely be made out. You certainly cannot recognise individual homes. Ranty has simply guessed, finding any building on Google Earth which he thinks is in the right general vicinity. Watch as Paul tries to get Ranty to make some proportional measurements on his image, and Ranty, no doubt aware that his latest analysis is about to be shown to be complete bollocks, frantically tries to avoid this.
The thing I'm after is I'm after the percentage that you can see from Douglas to the left, that you can see to the right. That's what I'm after. I'm after that ratio.
You're asking, I think you're gish-gashing now, because you know that this line here, this yellow line, yes, you are. You know this yellow line here is the exact extremity that I've done it on two separate things. I've done it already on in Paint, and I've already overlaid it in Google Earth. So you know that this is exactly as far as we're seeing. So, I mean, I feel like I'm running around.
Ranty doesn't just analyse images, he generates plenty of his own. Let's take a look at the gallery. This music is funny if you happen to be old and British, by the way. First, this composite with a red line supposedly indicating how much of the Isle of Man should be hidden by curvature. I don't know how Ranty calculated this, because even using Riley's initial lie of a 35-foot elevation, the line should actually be here. And when we apply his actual elevation, the line moves to here, just a little above what we actually see. In this image, the lowest red line is supposed to indicate the high water line, which Ranty has decided must come all the way to the edge of the grass. Apparently, there are never bare rocks on coastlines above the high water mark. Here, Ranty has used piles of caravans to prove that Anthony's observation elevation was just 35 feet. Again, he has decided that the sea comes all the way up to the promenade and the rocks at the bottom of the cliff. Eventually, this area turned out to be about 70 feet high, twice Ranty's claim. Ranty used this technique again recently in a pitiful attempt to convince his gullible and desperate audience that it doesn't matter that Anthony lied about his elevation, because he has a bigger, better lie now, which makes discussion of his first lie irrelevant. Oops, how did that one get in there? Sorry about that. Moving swiftly on. And in a final insult to reasonable intelligence, Ranty takes the original video and from this area produces this image by increasing the contrast, and then manipulates this still further until he gets this, which is apparently sufficient to convince the CGI-averse flatties that they are looking at this lighthouse, which in turn means that they can see Ireland. The white blob at the top is supposed to be the black part of the lighthouse. The blue section beneath is the white body of the lighthouse, and the white strip at the bottom, which runs a long way along the full image, is supposed to be the wall and buildings. Ranty even felt the need to manipulate the photo of the lighthouse to make the grass darker. So much for skepticism. Ranty hasn't managed to correctly identify a single landmark on the Isle of Man, and his record of getting this wrong is extensive, yet he constantly makes overconfident proclamations about what he is seeing. Beyond this, he has inaccurately manipulated imagery to make various points, culminating in this final example, which, because of its CGI qualities, would be instantly rejected by all the intellectually honest flat earthers, if only there were any. I will leave the final word on this particular piece of evidence to Mark Taylor, who reminds Nathan what he is actually looking at.
That might be actually 3 chimneys. It might be some kind of sensor thing where it's.
Oh my God, Nathan! Why'd you let him come on your show and say stupid things like that?
Just looking at a picture. We're just literally
Well,
looking at a video. I'm sorry, Mark. You just said, why do I let him come on my show and say stupid things? Literally, all we're doing is looking at a video. It's just a video of something.
Oh my God.
What's stupid about it, Mark? I don't understand. Maybe you can explain. We're just looking at a video of stuff.
Well, 1 minute it's one chimney, now it's 3 chimneys. You can't give me information about one chimney, but now you're saying it's 3 chimneys.
Are you saying you only want us to go into detail about things we know?
Yes.
Right. We know about a lighthouse at the south end of the island. It's called Lag Ness.
Yes, so
we know its
let's have a
exact
look at the
location.
lighthouse. Show me
We
the
know its
lighthouse.
exact height.
Show me the lighthouse.
Yes, lighthouse.
Yeah, show me it.
No problem. It's
Here
coming
we
up
go.
on
Not on
screen in
Google,
about 10
as
seconds.
Requested, Mark.
Here we
No,
go.
on
Mark,
Google in
do you
the
see
picture.
this?
Not on Google, in the picture.
Yeah, okay. Do you want to see it in the picture as well? No problem. We
Yes.
can just give us 10 seconds. We can do that too.
Okay.
Ranty, swap because you got it better seen shown than I've got it. Ranty,
Okay, say when. I'm
just
presenting.
share your screen.
There you go. Happy, Mark? This is what we're talking about.
That's a smudge, Nathan.
Thanks for watching. Please rate, comment and subscribe.